Listen, tell me the story of exactly what happened. All I know is, what we see on the internet. Dusty in the hospital, Dusty in a coma.
Right.
And we didn't really get the information that we, from the horse's mouth. So that's why I'm
Right.
asking. I wanted to ask you if you want to share exactly what happened.
Yeah, I mean, it was really basic, man. It's funny, but you know how it is as a bodybuilder. Like, my life is the same every single week. Thursday is the day I go see my barber, get beard cleaned up, head into train afterwards. And I was eating, getting ready to go. And I got like a piece of steak caught in my throat. You know when it's caught, but you can breathe, so you're fine. So it was stuck, and I was like, whatever. I literally was still getting dressed and moving on with life. And finally, I swallowed it, and I could feel it like drag the whole way down my throat. And I was like, whew, that sucked. But didn't really obviously think anything of it. We've all kind of been there. And I was driving to the to my barber, and I was talking to a friend of mine on the phone, and she's a nurse. I told her what happened. I said, man, this is going to be it. I was joking. I was like, I'm going to end up dying from a piece of ninja steak. Like, that's because I was just bitching that it was sore,
Yeah.
So I went in, saw my barber, got cleaned up, and I told her about it when I was in there. And when she leaned me back, she put me back up, and I'm like, man, I'm still feeling off. So as I walked out to my car, it's kind of an empty parking lot. So I got around the other side of my truck, and I was like, I wonder if it went down the wrong pipe or is sitting wrong still. So I decided, well, if I just force myself to puke, it'll come up and I'll be fine. And I mean, I can do that. I can just convince myself, I think from years of leg training, make myself puke. So I leaned over and puked, and it was just pure blood. And I was like, oh.
That must have scared the shit out of you.
I was like, well, that ain't good. So what was weird is I just, like, reflex, I put my foot by it and I videoed the blood because I wanted to show how much it was. So I sent it to my friend, and I'm like, hey, is this a problem? And she's like, go to the hospital. And I lived in North Scottsdale, right by the Mayo Clinic. So I was heading up there, and I'm on the phone with her, and I was like, well, I'm gonna stop up at the house real quick, let my dogs out, and then I'll go. And she's like, no.
So she told you to go immediately.
Right now.
So she had an idea.
Yeah. So I went in, and I just went to the ER, told them what happened. It was funny. I mean, I showed the lady the picture, and she was like, okay. And she's like, all right, well, we'll call your name. And I'm sitting in the lobby, and my friend's texting me, and she's like, are you back there yet? And I said, no. I said, I'm just waiting in the lobby. And she's like, you're waiting in the lobby? Did you show them? And I said, yeah, I showed a lady. And she's like, they don't understand. And she was like, how do you feel now? And I said, well, I'm nauseous again.
Did she tell you what she thought at that moment? What it could be?
I think she, in hindsight, because we talked afterwards, she knew.
She didn't want to scare you too much.
Yeah, she just wanted me to be calm. So she was like, are you feeling nauseous again? And I said, yeah. She says, that's blood building up, because you can't digest blood. So she's like, go ask them for a bag, and then, if you can get sick, make yourself sick in the bag. And I said, okay. So I went up and grabbed a bag, and as soon as I puked in the bag and it, filled up with blood again, a nurse came out and saw it, and she goes, did you just do that? And I was like, yeah. And she literally turned and like kicked open a door and screamed down a hallway, I need a fucking room right now. And I was like, oh, okay, this is serious. So I went back, got set up, and every so often I would need to get sick again. It was just more blood. But in my head, I don't know why, I was just chilled with it. I was like, oh, whatever it is, they'll fix it, And the surgeon came back, and he said, hey, you probably, you cut your esophagus somehow. We're going to go in there and... How did
they x-ray you, or did they...
No.
Okay, so they were just guessing.
Because I described what happened.
Okay.
So he was like, all right, we're going to go in and suture, or basically a cauterizing type thing, and you'll be out. So I said, okay. I called my mom's boyfriend, and I said, hey, you mind getting my dogs? I don't know when I'm going to be out of the house. Come down here, get my keys. So that was handled. And then I went in, and then 20 some odd days later, I woke up. And it was funny because you wake up and you're so out of it. I mean, so I wake up and Matt Kafora, my training partner, is in my room. And what was funny was it didn't even like adjust to me. Like, why is he in my room? Or why do I have a room?
So did you realize from as soon as you woke up, oh, I'm in the hospital?
Yes, because I knew I had went into the hospital.
So you remember that, yes.
So I opened my eyes and I saw him sitting there and he goes, hey, and I'm like, what's up? And he goes, you know what day it is? And I said, yeah, it's Thursday, because obviously I got my beard done. He's like, nope, it's not Thursday. He's like, do you know what month it is? And I'm like, huh? Like, I immediately knew something was wrong. So I had went in on May 13th, and this was June 8th that I woke up.
So did they put you in a coma?
Yeah, so what ended up happening was when they got in there, I guess from just years of eating, and I didn't realize this, but I'm sure a lot of bodybuilders, you have a little acid reflux here and there and that, and I never really thought anything of it, and it never felt bad, but it apparently had thinned the lining of my whole esophagus. So when that went down, it basically was like a razor blade and cut the entire length of my esophagus. So they went in thinking they were going to suture like a little thing, and it was the entire esophagus. So once that happens, apparently they have a procedure where they like, I can't even explain it well, but they fill up a balloon in your throat and then somehow, you know, get it to cauterize whatever. But when I was under, of course, I started having other issues. So I ended up with pneumonia. Then they had to put me in a coma to let that take place. But then I ended up with pneumonia. And the reason that happened was because they weren't used to dealing with someone, not only my size, but with the way I eat and drink. The first thing they were doing was dehydrating me on accident. So they were giving me fluids that you give a normal person, which of course was not nearly enough. So I started holding water, blood pressure shot up, all those things. Then they also ran into with the drugs. I don't really know why, but they actually had to ask. They asked my mother, like, is he an addict? Because he's going through drugs like nothing we've ever seen before. And apparently I was just metabolizing them. So of course I'm finding all this out after the fact, but so I wake up and I find out like they were trying to put me out with drugs. I would wake up and then apparently this is normal, but you wake up violent.
Oh, okay.
Because you don't even know what's going on. You got tubes in your throat. I broke a hospital bed. I mean, it took multiple, actually, I think Matt actually had to one time help them hold me down to get me back secured. They ended up actually bringing in restraints that are made out of like seatbelts. So my feet were seatbelted down, my arms were seatbelted in.
And this all happened while you were in a coma?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, we'll see. Apparently, I was in and out at this point, but I remember none of this because obviously I was so drugged.